What's up, Boring Guy Nation? Welcome to another live. I'm going to, so the plan is today is basically I'm going to install the rudder plate into this workbench. If you guys caught me in the last two lives, I was building this bad boy. Now, one thing I did do without you guys is I installed the vise. I just couldn't wait, so I had to do it. So we finally got a nice little vise on here. But today, I think if I have time, we're going to put some nice wood jaws on this. So that'll be pretty cool. If you guys just give me a second here, I'm trying out a new setup. I'm going to try to use the TV I have to watch the chats, and then use my good camera on my phone, not the backside camera. So I think that'll be a lot better. See if it works, because that'd be awesome. I'm horrible at technology. Cool. Seems it works, I think. I don't know if everybody can hear me okay. Whoever that one person is, just let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. I also got a new mic set up, so hopefully that will work out pretty good. Cool. So what I'm thinking is, since I have the vise on that side, I think I'm going to want to mount the rudder plate right here. So I'll have my rudder table here, which I think will be pretty cool. And we'll give it a try. I don't know. We'll see. Now, I've done this once before, and I'm going to try to do it the conventional way, using like a rudder template. But, you know, Boring Guy DIY isn't too smart sometimes, and I waxed the tabletop. So if I wanted to use double stick tape to put my template down, this thing is slick as can be. So that was not a good plan. So I'm going to have to think about that one. Maybe use some pin nails, because those won't leave a lot of, holes behind. So yeah, let's give it a shot. I'm just going to collect my materials while you guys join. Get everything ready. I should have done that ahead of time, but you know how that works. Actually, this is not working quite like I thought. Hey, Ray. Hey, Dylan. Glad you guys can join. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Now, I'm going to keep popping back and forth between the camera because I wanted to use the good side of my phone. I didn't want to use the forward-facing camera. I noticed the quality was pretty bad. So it looks like I didn't set up my TV correctly either, so I can't see the chat. So I'm going to have to get on that next time. But since I have such a small amount of time today to actually do this, let's get to working. I probably won't talk too much on this one. We're just going to, you guys are going to watch me. So this is the rudder plate I'm going to install. It's a Rockler Pro plate. Looks like it's about 1/4 inch aluminum. Really nice. Now, this will be another interesting thing later, is that I don't have the right holes on here for my router. So I'm going to definitely have to drill those out. I'll show you guys how I do that at some point. But overall, this is a pretty nice piece of hardware here. Be right back. Let me just get everything else we're going to need. Thanks, Delin. Glad you guys can hear me okay. I'm just going to grab some supplies off camera here. And I'm probably going to stumble through this a little bit because I haven't quite done it this way before. And it's going to be interesting. I'm definitely going to, stumble a bit, but that's how we get things done most of the time. Fake it till you make it. I got some rudder bit templates here, which are going to be handy for this. So we got that. I'm probably going to want this. Definitely going to need a pencil. And I think we can start with that. So I'm going to have to figure out the location first. That's going to be the big thing. So I got all these rudder bushings. So here's going to be the plan. This is what I want to do. Now, whether it's actually going to work out is a totally different story, because I'm not 100% sure I have all the correct items. But I saw this great video on YouTube, and it was, I think, Woodworking Journal. It's quite old, but they had a really interesting way of inserting a router plate. that is a little bit different and requires less steps than the typical way. So what I'm thinking of doing is, let me actually go grab it. Grab my rotor bit set. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Let's see who joined here. Oh yeah, Ray, you definitely got to get a nice rotor table going. And a big bench. Can't beat it. Well, I don't know yet. I haven't really used it, so I can't really say that, but I'm pretty sure you can't beat it. It's going to be awesome. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get, I have a rabbiting bit here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'll bring this up. Just a standard rabbiting bit. I'm going to have to measure. I think this is a 3/8. It's set up for 3/8 right now. And typically what you can do is you can change the bearing size to change the depth of rabbit. But I don't have any of the bearings because these are like 20 years old and they're gone now. So what I'm hoping I can do, and this will be the plan, is that I'm going to put a bushing on the router that will be, I don't know, 3/8. I think this is 3/8 from the center here. So basically I'll pick a bit that will go in the center. It'll be smaller. And the idea will be that the space between the bit and the edge of the bushing will equal the space between the bearing and the edge of the blade. So the idea will be, I'll make a template. I'll use this. I'll route out the first groove. And then I'll come back with the rabbiting bit. And that'll make my little ledge that will allow this to sit nice and flush. So again, that's the theory here. But I have to do a little bit of measuring because I actually don't know what size I'm going to need for this. So it looks like, let's see here. It looks like we're probably going to be a 3/8 bit here, but we'll see. Yep, so this is a 3/8 rabbiting bit. So I have to make sure that I use the template and the correct router bit that'll give me 3/8 of an inch away from the edge of this bushing. So I don't know. I'm going to have to measure these and see what we got. So this one's an inch. So that means I need to use, I can't do math, guys. If I need 3/8 away, that end up being, I definitely don't have a router bit that's 5/8. I don't think. Let's see here. I'd be surprised. No, it's 3/4. Actually, this guy might be 1/2 inch. Could probably work with that. That's a 1/2. This is going to be a small dilemma because now I understand why the guy in the video did a 3/4 inch bushing with a 1/4 inch bit and a 1/4 inch rabbiting bit, which makes a lot of sense now because a lot of people don't have a 5/8 bit hanging around, including myself. But let's measure these. Maybe we can get fancy here. So I don't even know what I got for bushings here. We got, so this is 3/4. If I do a 3/4 and a 1/4, actually a 3/4 and a 1/4 might work. That's a 5/16. I think that's 1/4. Yeah, this is definitely going to be one of the lesser educational videos for me and just more of me just trying to figure something out. So I'm trying to think here. If I did a 1/4 inch with a 3/4 inch bushing, in theory, that should leave me like, actually, that should leave about a 3/8 reveal. Or maybe I have to step down to an 1/8 inch bit, which I don't think I have. Okay, anyways, you know what? Let's get the location of the router plate first. Let's start there. And then I can visualize it. I'm a visual person. If I can't actually visualize what's going on, I have no chance of getting this done right. So let's start there. I'm just going to quickly check the chat. Again, my setup here isn't exactly the way I want it. Thank you all for joining this fine Sunday morning. Looks like Ray and Delenn are in the house. Delenn, sorry. I apologize, Delenn. I think I always I always want to pronounce your name differently. I don't know why. So I apologize. You'll probably hear me. I know what your name actually is. My brain is not processing it for whatever weird reason. Even though your name is incredibly easy to say, my brain just doesn't process properly. Okay, let's figure out the location here. So I think I was talking about this in my last video, and Wes actually brought up a good point. You know, make sure that I keep this close enough to the edge where I'm not leaning over too much. And that is a great idea, because I think what I probably would have done is I probably just not even thinking would try to center it as much as possible, right? And then, you know, that leads this kind of awkward bend, which can't be good for my back. So I think we'll probably keep it, you know, I'm not going for an exact number here, but we're just going to keep it within hand's reach. So I'm going to go grab a T-square. And I'm going to grab a straight edge, because I have a feeling we're going to do this the old school way. All that garbage I just said about using bushings and stuff, I have a feeling I'm going to abandon that idea real quick. And also, I just need to check where I do have some supports going across here, so I want to make sure that they won't be in the way. So actually, believe it or not, where I have it, it's pretty much spot on where the cross members go. So I think this will actually work beautifully. So I'll use my T-square to establish square at least. We'll start there. That's pretty good. And then we'll just measure in on the sides. Hey, Kevin, thanks for joining. As always, I appreciate you guys. And oh man, Ray's bench build was awesome. I agree, Kevin. You know, it's so funny. I saw him with a stack of 2x4s, and I've seen a couple benches he's built. But I still like, you know, I see eight 2x4s, and I'm like, you can't build a bench out of that. Now look at Ray. He busts out a bench. And what? Would it take you a day to do that? Pretty good. Okay, let's find center. So we're going to do, center is going to be, what's that? 24.5. Well, at least we'll find center. And I'm just going to measure this way. I always like to double check. Yeah, that's about good enough. Now let's figure out the center of this plate. Of course, they make it some weird measurement, right? Like they make it 11 3/4. Why couldn't they just make it 12? You know, the older I get, I used to say a lot, well, there had to have been an engineering reason for this, right? Like that 1/4 inch, there had to have been a good reason, but I feel like a lot of times there isn't. And they're just like, I don't know, that works. So yeah, guys, we're definitely doing this the old school way. I'm just going to make a bunch of straight edges here. We're going to cut it out. Because, you know, another thing I was thinking is that the radius of this rabbiting bit is quite a bit bigger than the radius of this plate. So by default, that means I'm going to have to take material off this with a sander. And I don't know if I really want to do that. I mean, I don't care about the plate. It only cost me like $10. I got it on sale. But for the future, if I want to drop in like a nice rudder lift or something in the future, I'm not going to want to start chopping that thing apart to make it fit this bench. So yeah, we're just gonna see where this takes us. So that looks pretty darn square to me. I'm gonna do one more double check, make sure we're away from that. We're away from this, good. We'll do a nice trace around here. Make sure we get a nice dark line. And then we're going to approach this kind of piecemeal. It's going to be very unelegant, but I've done one this way before. And again, it's a one-off thing. So if it takes me a little bit longer to kind of piecemeal cut this in, I could care less. That just means you guys get to watch me do it longer. Cool. That looks pretty good to me. So we got a nice outline drawn there. Let me just check the chats real quick. All right, you got one left over? Nice. That's some good planning. I could never plan correct. I always buy way too much or not enough at all. I can't tell you the last time I had a project go like super smoothly like that. I'm just going to double check this. So we're at 18 7/8. Huh, why is that so far off? Oh, it's off by like a 1/4 inch. Honestly, I don't even care. For the sake of this build, it matters 0. I don't feel like redrawing this line, so I think I'm good with that. And that feels like a nice, comfortable distance. So I feel like if I'm going to be routing something, this piece of wood, I feel like this would be like a nice, comfortable distance. It'll give me some room here. I could also put a miter slot here in the future. So I think that will actually work out really good. I don't know. Maybe I want to bump it back just a little. No, I think that's good because this seems to be about the same. I had an old Rockler table before. Excuse me, my nose is running so bad and I can't stop it. I had a Rockler table before that was about. This feels about what it was in terms of distance here. So I think I like that. Or we could go back just a little bit because it feels like I got a little bit of room between that stretcher that I installed. Yeah, let's push it back just a little more. We can, so maybe this gives me the opportunity to readjust this a little bit. I could always sand off this previous drawing. So 18.5. 18.5. Yeah, we're going to do this. That'll make me feel better. Nice and square. Now, I just got to remember which line I'm actually using. I've learned to measure 15 times, cut once. Even though I don't do that a lot of times. It's funny, like, I swear, it's like anytime I touch exotic wood that costs a lot of money, I'm just like, let's wing it. We'll see what happens. I feel like that's a terrible way to go about stuff, but okay, I'm just going to actually scratch out the lines I don't care about. I can already see that I'm getting confused. Especially when I'm in the heat of the moment. Okay, and I think, let me just double check that. We're getting real close to that piece of wood, but I think we'll be good. It's hard for me to tell though. Right here. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, now we're dead center. So next thing we're going to do, let's find the router bit that matches this profiled edge here. That'll be the next step. We want to make sure we can get the right profile. Now, it looks like this 3/4 inch guy will actually work great for this. Oh, man, yeah, that's going to be about as close as we're going to get to a perfect radius. And let me do a little cleanup here so I don't end up with shavings in everything I own. Get rid of this. We'll get rid of this. Definitely keep that. So my plan is we're gonna go basic here. We're gonna clamp a straight edge. I'm gonna run the router. we're going to stop. I'm going to clamp the straight edge this way. We're just going to run it around. Takes a little more fiddling around, but I ain't got time for this. And I think that'll leave me a nice reveal around the edge. But it doesn't matter really, because I can fix whatever's wrong later. So I might need to narrow it, because I don't know if my router will actually fit through the plate with too much of a lip, but we can figure that out when the time comes, right? As you guys know, I can't talk today, man. As you guys know, I'm kind of like the Bob Ross equivalent of a woodworker. Just do it as I go. If I want to put a little tree there, I'm going to put a little tree there. Now, in no way am I saying that I am the equivalent of Bob Ross's skill in the woodworking world. I'm just saying I really like his philosophy of just start painting and see what you get. I think that's the funnest way to do it. That keeps this hobby fun. I mean, building from plans is necessary sometimes, but it's just not as fun. It's just like, at that point, to me, it's a lot like assembling IKEA furniture. Nobody wants to do that. In some ways, right? I mean, some projects, like, I can't wrap my head around if I don't use a plan, but for something like this, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to set this depth to be perfectly in line with the thickness of this plate. Now, again, a couple different philosophies here. When you buy a router table, typically they'll have adjustment screws, where 4 screws on each end, and then you would route down deeper than the plate, and that would allow you to do some fine adjustment to get it perfectly flat. I'm going to try to just get this perfectly flush right off the bat. I mean, and if it doesn't work, I can always fix it later, right? So that's what I like to do if I can. I like to do things in such a way that they're fixable. If I can. I'm gonna have to go up a little bit. Basically, we're just gonna keep scooching this up till we get right where it's perfectly level. Maybe even a little hair deeper. And that, to me, looks pretty good. Just a little more. Right there. I can just barely feel it catching my finger. So that should recess me about a 64th of an inch to the top, which for me is fine. Now, that's another thing I think people get lost with woodworking a little bit, is hyper precision. You'll see some guys and they're like, man, we got to get to the 1,000th of an inch here. And then we forget that we're working with wood. Wood will expand and contract, as you guys know, much more than even a 16th of an inch in certain cases, right? So sometimes it doesn't even make sense to strive for such precision. Kind of diminishing returns at that point, I think. Get close enough to do the job and then call it a day. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make sure this bit, of course this is unplugged, guys, so I'm not going to chop my finger off, but I'm going to rest the bit right on my cut line. Just like that, and then I'm going to push this over. And then we'll clamp down one end. Not fully, but just enough to take out some slack. And then I'm just going to bring this over to here and make sure that we're right in the right spot, which that looks pretty darn good. Clamp it on this side. Hopefully this level is straight enough. I actually used this to install a patio, and I did things you shouldn't do to levels. Okay, to me, I'm just checking a couple points across the line, make sure I'm not going to vary too much. That looks pretty darn good. I'm going to cinch down these clamps, make sure we have no movement. And I say we're ready to go. Let's plug this bad boy in. Of course, I got like 15 extension cords set up here, so that's not ideal. Jeepers, why won't this plug in? Wow. I have a new pigtail electrical cord thing, and it is stiff. Oh, Ray, I hear you. We all do it to ourselves. As much as I say that, I do the same thing. I'll sit there for hours trying to get something perfect. So hey, I'm saying it, but I do it too. So what I'm going to do is I have a plunge base. I don't know why I'm not using it. I'm just too lazy to go grab it. So this is not a super safe thing, but I'm just going to plunge it in there nice and softly, and we're just going to go cut out this line. Oh, it's got to be on first. Looks pretty darn good. Get my little sweeper thing. Now I do, like I was saying in my last live, I have some fun lives coming up, but I need a workbench first. So we're gonna have to get through some of the boring ones first, and then we can get to the fun stuff. But what I think's fun, I mean, that might vary a little bit. Okay, we get that cut out. And we're just gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna take this, make sure I'm on the right line here. Good, I followed my own directions. And see if I can just line this up just right. You know what, I'm gonna actually flip this because I can't see what I'm doing. That looks pretty good. It's good right there. So we'll get that cinched down a little bit. Let's move it over. Beautiful. Just like me. And triple check. So I got one shot at this. And I'm glad I did because I'm way off. Check that again. Good. Looks like we walked a little bit on this side. Like I said, this is not the most efficient way of doing this. You end up doing a lot of back and forth type of stuff, but looks good. Okay, now I can crank down this side. I think I just have to bring this side in just a touch. You know, I saw this company that actually had a really cool, I don't remember the name of them, but they have, like, for track saws, they have the, of course, track saws on a circular saw. But there's this company that makes generic base plates that fit all routers, or most routers, most of the big guys, right? So you can just buy a track and then have your router on there, so that way you have a nice straight edge that moves nice and smoothly, just like a track saw. Now, I know Festool's been doing that forever, but if you don't have Festool, it allows you to just buy like a generic track off Amazon and then have a really cool track router for definitely way cheaper than a Festool setup. If I come across it, I'll try to share it. I'll post it. But I couldn't even tell you for the life of me who makes it. It was just like a mom and pop type thing, I think, which is even cooler, right? If I remember correctly, a lot of the stuff they were selling, they were like $20, $24, something like that. Of course, you have to buy the track and everything. It's, probably better if you had you already had a track saw and you wanted to make like a track router, right? Okay, I think we're ready to go here. Let's give it a shot. Good enough. And what I'm trying to do here is go a little oversized, because I don't care if that router plate moves a little. That's fine. I'd rather do that than take the amount of time to get it dead on. To me, it doesn't matter. I don't know. Man, I can already see how nice this workbench is going to be, though. It has nice edges to clamp to. And that was one of the biggest problems I had. I just didn't have a place to clamp anything or do anything. Again, I have my kind of, not crappy, but my kind of light duty workbenches over there that just weren't cutting it up at all. Huh. Hopefully I can reach that. Beautiful. I'm going to do the same thing here. And of course, these are shorter distances, so it's going to be less messing around with these clamps, which is good. That should be good enough. Good. Good, good. 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 Good enough. Let's send it. Take a quick peek on the chat. We got one more side to go. Oh, Ray, I'm in the same boat. You know, honestly, even if I was rich, no, I'm lying. If I was rich, I'd buy Festool. I was trying to be some kind of a, I don't know, say something like I wouldn't buy Festool, but yeah, I'm in the same boat. Really good tools, but man, they're so overpriced. You know what bugs me too, and I know it's just a perceived quality thing, right? I know Festool are super high quality. There's really very little bad things to say about them in general. But when I go to like my local Rockler or Woodcraft store and I pick up the Festool stuff, right? It's just the initial feel underwhelms me. It's just so plasticky, right? And I know it's all high quality plastics. I know it's actually a good unit. Don't get me wrong, I get it. But when I pay $1,500 for a router or something, right? I want that thing to weigh like 40 pounds. Is that a weird thing to say? Like I want that thing to feel like it's gonna, I could toss it down a set of stairs and it wouldn't break. That's just me though. I don't know. Again, I know modern materials are superior and they're great and blah blah blah, but something about all the plastic they use just doesn't sit well with me. But like I said, in no way, shape, or form am I knocking Festool. Good stuff. I don't need to be attacked. You know, a tool that I would really like to get though is the Milwaukee track saw. For the price, I mean, it's still out of my price range. Don't get me wrong, but I have some of the M18 battery tools, some of them, right? So I think getting something in that same ecosystem of batteries would be really cool. And I've heard that Milwaukee track saw is right on par with Festool, quality wise. And if you already have that Milwaukee system, can't go wrong. Okay, let's get this one cut. This looks pretty good to me. And in typical fashion here, right? I went a little bit too far and I knocked out that edge. I'm so mad. It was going so smoothly. Unbelievable. Now I'm not going to really be able to fit this, but let's see if I'm in the ballpark here. I'll be able to eyeball it. Yeah, it looks like we're definitely in the ballpark. We can always adjust a little bit afterwards. Like I said, I can always run that router again. So now what I'm going to do is cut out the the inside. And that's going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to drill some holes in the corners and just jigsaw it, because I don't really care what it looks like, right? That's going to all be hidden. And that should not be a concern on how ugly I make that cut. Of course, I'm going to try to not make it ugly, but I've been trying to do that to myself for years now, and just it's not working out. So here, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try to drill our smoothest hole here. Right in the corner. 1, 2, 3. I don't know how to speak Spanish. Is that tres? I don't know. And 4. And then, why don't we get our jigsaw, cut that out. Or maybe even better. I wonder if I can handle most of that with a, yeah, let's do that. I'm going to handle as much of that cut as possible with the circular saw, so that way we get a nice straight line. My jigsaw skills are not that great, so I'd rather not push that. You know what? I should probably use my new circular saw, but this one is much smaller. Yeah, we're just going to go for it. Let's try it. Man, I cut right through it. Jeepers, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Oh gosh. Well, you guys caught that on camera. I was so concentrated on the front of the blade that I didn't look at the back of the blade. It's okay though. It won't be super obvious, I don't think. That one went much better. Okay, should be good enough. Just gonna grab my handsaw here. I think I'm just gonna handsaw it right out. In that overcut that I did, I think I'm just gonna hit it with a little bit of glue and sawdust, and you'll never see it. Not that it matters, it's a workbench. Again, I usually plan these things out very well, but it being a workbench is kind of, you know, it's good enough. And if any of you guys are hand tool purists, don't watch me do this. You'll probably have a heart attack. I couldn't use a hand tool to save my life. Excuse me. There we go. Actually, that's not that bad. I didn't even overcut it as much as I thought I did. I'm just going to take my chisel. We'll just kind of clean this up a little bit. The good thing is the router plate is going to cover all the ugliness. That's why I carry one around with me all the time. So I just put it right here. It's all covered. Now this is the part where I'm going to pop the plate in. It's not going to fit at all. Watch. Man, I really got to sharpen these chisels. These things are... I'm going to go grab a mallet real quick. Actually, let me pop it in. Let's just see. See if I got it. Pretty close. I think I can just run the router on this one more time. Looks like the depth is good. I'll probably kiss one edge. I might even do it with this. Again, my chisel's a little rough, so I don't really want to. I might just run that router along there one more time. Looks like we're about a 64th off. Take a look at the chats. Oh, hey, Amy. Thanks for stopping by. The M12 stuff is great, Ray. I really like it. I have that's actually the first kind of real big boy tools that I bought. I was renovating my house, and I didn't see the need for the M18s. I didn't really have the money either, so I bought some M12s. And for like furniture, the stuff that you do, Ray, so handy. Because you can just, what I like about it, they're so light, they fit into everything. They don't have a crazy ton of power, but I mean, a lot of times you don't need it. Right now, I'm just doing a little cleanup. Not really necessary, but I just don't like having things hanging out. Get all the dust out of here and see if it was the dust that was stopping the fit, or if I do in fact have to take some off. I'm pretty sure I will, but get all the dust out of there. Well, we're really good that way, but looks like for here, oh man, I might try to just chisel that. It is so darn close. I think I just need to take the smallest bit just out of this corner. And I want to do this without wrecking the plywood too, which is going to be a bit tricky with a dull chisel. You know what's really been interesting to me is I don't know if you guys have seen the Sonnery channel on YouTube. I think it's like Sonnery Woodworking. It's an older gentleman who puts out a lot of really good videos, and they have the sharpening system. It's only like $100, but it just looks amazing. If you have a chance, if you guys are looking into any kind of sharpening type things, it's basically just like a jig that holds over the top of a whetstone, but it's on linear reels, like linear guide rails, and it just looks so smooth. So I'm seriously looking into that for my next sharpening system. I used to have a really nice Workshop 3000. I don't know if you guys have seen that in the infomercials back in the day, but they don't make it anymore, unfortunately, but it was a really good sharpener. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore, but man, I wish I did. I wouldn't be struggling with the fit here. Oh, we're so close. That side fits perfectly. We're just gonna take a little more off. Make sure I dig some out of that corner. It's really hard to see where I'm off here because it's such a small amount. So it looks like I can get that top part in. I think we're gonna do another router pass because I don't think I can get this accurate enough with a chisel. Let's dust this off a little bit. And we're just gonna take the smallest hair off. The peach fuzz. Take a little peach fuzz. But this is going to really open up a huge world to me because I really miss my router table. And there's so many things I used to do with it. Now that I don't have it, it's really annoying. So having this is going to be awesome. Okay, let's get this set up so we just take a tiny bit off. Oh, there's my other clamp. Good, and hopefully this will be just enough just to take just a tiny bit off. That's what I'm going for. So let's go for it. I don't know if you guys saw the fireworks, but I hit a screw. Oh, aside from those ugly cuts that I made, that is right on. Oh man. And I'll hit those with a little sawdust and we'll never even know what happened. That I am happy with right there. Now guys, I'll bring you guys a little closer. Oh man, I wish I read Kevin's comment. A drywall knife with a blade. I should have done that. That would have been that was a fantastic idea that I should have followed. So we got the slot there. You can see here, I boogered up that corner there and I boogered this up a little bit, but practically it'll have zero effect. So now we got a router plate in there. That makes me happy. Let me readjust you guys. And now it's time to throw in the rails. So let me go grab, I'm going to need rails for the fence to ride in. And I'm actually going to grab my fence here. I'll show you guys what we're working with. So also in the future, anyway, before I start yapping, in the future, I would like to actually put T-tracks going all the way across, this way and maybe this way. And that way I could have a bunch of clamping points, which I think would be really cool. But right now, I don't really feel like spending money on more T-track. It's not super cheap. So I have these two left over from my old router table. And I also have the old router fence, which I kept because I knew it would be something I want in the future. Now, the reason you're probably asking me, if you had a router table, why do you have pieces of it and not all of it, right? Why even bothering? Well, the answer would be because the Rockler router tables, they're made out of MDF. And I kept some of my tools in a basement for a while. And anyone that has a basement, especially in New England, you know, they can get quite wet and damp and nasty. So it swelled the MDF on the table. So it was garbage. I had to throw it out. So that's basically why I'm doing this now. How far did that go? Just going to double check and see. Oh, good thing is, I was just going to put my head in there like an idiot. Oh, good. That actually didn't even go through the bottom, my miscut. I was just double checking my miscut here and seeing how bad, you know, if I was going to lose any structural integrity in this corner. But it only went through the first layer of ply, which is really good. I didn't cause any actual damage. And by damage, really, the only thing I'm concerned about is that if I overcut too much, I would have some sagging issues because, you know, the integrity would be gone there. But the good thing is there isn't. Now I'm just going to hit this really quick, soften all my edges, and that'll reduce splitting. So if I hit any of this incorrectly or drag something across it, I don't want it to pull off that ply. I always recommend even just a slight round over to all your edges and all your projects. It just protects them. Much more difficult to damage a rounded over surface than it is a nice square sharp surface. Now I could do this later off camera, but I know that, what's that, Murphy's Law or something? If it can happen, it will happen. So I'll take care of that now. Ooh, you know what would work great for this? I just bought a new set of rasps. Rasps. That's a hard word to say with the S on the end. I'll pop in the comments here, see how we're doing. Oh, thanks, Ray. I would say it's a job. Maybe not quite a super nice job, but it's a job. Appreciate that. Just gonna rasp out these corners. Looking a little gnarly. That looks good. Get rid of this. Test the fit one more time. Like butter. I got about, I would say, a 1/16 of an inch of play in there, which is perfect for me. I don't think that's going to cause any issues, especially when everything's all weighted down real nice. I think that'll work quite nicely. I can always build up the edges with a little bit of tape too, if I want a real tight fit, but I am not too concerned there. I think that'll actually be pretty good. I was a little bit off. Wow, actually sanding that caused quite a bit of slop in this corner. I didn't really think of that. That's fine though. Like I said, I'll build that up, the little corner up with a little bit of tape. So now we got to figure out where we're going to mount these T-tracks. So I'm going to center this the best I can. Where are you, pencil? I'm thinking we'll do right in the center of that slot. To me, we'll do 7 3. Actually, we'll do 8 inches and 8 inches. That seems like that's about right in the center of this slot here. Again, it's not terribly important how perfect that is, but that should get me a nice, a nice, I don't even know the words I'm trying to say. A nice distance. Nice distance. Then we can pop this guy right on here. We'll draw a nice line. And we'll just draw one about that big. I'm going to do a little X because I want it on the inner portion. Excuse me. And then, of course, just like with the plate, I'm not terribly concerned that it's perfectly square. I'm really just looking for pretty square because this is all going to be on a movable system here, so it doesn't have to be dead on. Okay, so now that we got that drawn, let's just throw this fence back on here and make sure I like the way it looks. Actually, I think we're going to want, yeah, on the insides. That'll bring the track right in the right spot. Let's see here. Yeah, that should be nice. We'll do that. Now, the key will be, is this rudder bit the same width exactly as this track? And I would say the answer is yes. So this is going to be simple. Now, what I really need to do now is just figure out where I want these two pieces of track. So I don't need them really any further than the front of the blade. So let's get that T-square again. Or the bit, not the blade. So just to give us a little wiggle room, in case I have some weird routing operations, I don't know, we'll just go to the front of this insert. Because I can't imagine I'm going to need to go anything further than that, really. Do I need to go that far? I don't think so, but we'll go right to the front of the plate, just to give us a little room there. Now, of course, each one of these tracks are a little bit different. I didn't cut them perfectly years ago, so we're just going to slap that on there. We'll mark it. Now I know where to start and stop. We'll do the same thing here. And we'll mark it. Beautiful. Now we can just route a groove. Dado groove. Sounds like that'd be like a band, some kind of techno band. Dado groove. Now, Dado groove. Now. Okay, let's see where I can see this. Thinking right there is gonna work for us. Just line it up by eye the best we can. Again, this particular operation really doesn't have to be perfect. I just need a straight groove here. Again, here I'll just have to be really, really certain that I'm not going to walk off the line when I'm routing this, so it definitely isn't foolproof. It's pretty good. Cool. And I am going to have to go out a little bit further because I'm going to need to be able to have an area to slide this T-nut in. As you can see here, if it's buried all the way, I'm not going to be able to actually, get it in fully. So we'll take the length of the T-nut. We'll add a little bit of extra. And that's essentially where I'm going to stop. So that way I just have room to pop that in and slide it. They do have these little drop-in inserts now, but again, that costs money that I really... You know what? I wonder if I should do it on the front end or the back end. I guess it doesn't matter. It just will depend on how I slide this in or not. Okay, let's get this groove cut. I can't really see what I'm doing here, so this is going to be a little sketchy. Of course, I didn't think of that. I got to adjust this so that I'm at the right depth. And if anything, I just went a little bit below what I need. Beautiful. I think that will work out really good, and we'll just square the ends. Let's pop over here. We'll see how we're doing with depth. Oh, man. I love that. And then we'll just make sure, while I already have this set up, let's see if I can slide this T-nut in there. So, see, that's what I was saying. I left a little room there so I could just slide this bad boy right in. So that worked out super well. And honestly, in the future, if I want to make a whole T-track bench, I would probably just rebuild this whole top, because that requires a little bit more thinking on, like, you know, placement of certain things. So this, I didn't really think too much about it. I'll take a look at the chat. Oh, right, that's a good point. Definitely, if I'm going to be making box joints. Now, that's another thing I forgot to mention. I will add a miter track here. Excuse me, in the future, so that way I can use a box joint jig. That's 100% what I was thinking. But you are 100% correct. I'm going to have to pay real close attention. These tracks are just for the fence, which is on a pivot anyways. But once I get to that miter track, that thing's going to have to be set dead on, or as dead on as I can get it, for sure. Or I will be having a bad day trying to make any fancy joints with this. Interesting. I don't have to go from the other side. So my vise is in the way. I can't quite get a good angle at it. The vise is still in the way, but you know what? I'll use the vise. Okay, got that. Right on the line. Bump this over. Good. And good. Let's let her rip. Oh, man, that would have stunk. I almost used the side with the bubble, which would mean I have a nasty dip wherever I hit that bubble. Looks pretty good to me. And I think we can bump this in just a bit. Good. Good. Man, I hit a screw and the thing popped right out. Unbelievable. Well, I'm just going to keep telling myself it's a workbench and everything's fine. Good. Now we're just going to square up those edges. Grab myself an appropriate size chisel. Now which way do I want to keep this square? I think towards the front. Then again, if that's my working surface, yeah, we're going to do it in the back. We're going to make the square part on the back. Is that a 1 inch? Man, I wish I had a 3/4 inch chisel. That'd be ideal. You know, it's funny. Sometimes the way I buffoon through some of this stuff, you would think that, you know, I can actually make some decent quality like woodworking furniture type things. You would never think so, based on how I stumble through some of these seemingly very simple tasks. Okay, we'll pop this bad boy in there. We'll bottom it out all the way. Why aren't we fitting here? Let me take a little more off. Probably just tap it in, to be honest. Pretty good to me, and I should be able to, from the front side, pop in my hardware. Excellent. Let's square up this other side, and I think we're gonna probably call it a day. I'm sure my kids want to play and do something, so get this squared up, clean it off. What did I do with my other one? Why is that one not flush? Oh. I'm gonna say, I'm like, that thing is not sitting flush. There we go. Okay, let's rip all this stuff off. We'll throw a couple screws in and we'll see how she works. And I'm hoping my camera's far enough away, but you don't really see the big gouge that I took out here. I think what happened is I hit a screw and I got a little nervous. And it jumped a little, but I think I made it way worse. Excuse me. By trying to pull it away too quick. Excuse me. Should be wearing a mask. But honestly, I didn't think I'd get so far into this today. Let's see what we got for screws. Might be able to get away with these guys. Let's see. I'll see if the heads are too big or not. I think it'll work. Oh, good. No, it actually does clear, so we will use these screws. They're nice and hefty. I have some 1-inch screws, but they're just not quite as strong. And with that, we can kick it with our foot and say that's not going anywhere. In the past, I've actually glued these T-tracks in place, but I don't think that's necessary for what I'm doing right now. And if I ever want to reconfigure this bench in the future, like I was saying, if I did want to use the same configuration and add like a bigger T-track, I can just go straight through and get like a 4-foot piece of T-track. So again, one of those kind of just thinking to the future. I don't want to glue this in place and then have a big problem on my hands. Let's see, that should go right in. There we go. And look, I still got some I got some wiggle room on here, so I can adjust that back and forth a bit if I have to, or if I want to do any kind of a weird angle cut. That gives me plenty of ability to do some weird angles. I've never done that before. I had never had the need. So I can't imagine I'm going to care, but if I tighten that down, that's nice and sturdy now. We'll make a nice fence for it, I think. But overall, you know, a little bit of a hack job installation, but it's going to work just fine for me. I think this is actually going to work fantastic. I'll get rid of the play here a little bit, which again, for my style routing, I don't think I'm going to care enough. I don't typically do precision routing. I usually just do edge work and stuff. So if that's a concern, what I'll do is I'll just put a little wedge in there, or again, build this end up with a little bit of tape, and that'll, you know, keep this really solid in there so it's not jiggling at all. But overall, pretty happy with it. I think that's going to work out very well. And let's call it a day, guys. So I appreciate all of you. I'm going to check the chat real quick, see if I can answer any questions or anything. Oh, thanks, Ray. I appreciate that. I appreciate you hanging the whole thing, Ray. Man, that's awesome. I really, really appreciate that. It's really cool to have cool dudes and gals checking this out and watching me stumble through some stuff. But, you know, maybe we learn a little bit along the way. Now, one thing I actually didn't check before I let you guys go here is if my router will actually fit in there. I hope it does. So my plan will be to use this router base. Back in the day, I picked up this Craftsman Professional router. It was cool. It came with a D handle, it came with a plunge base, and it also came with just a standard base. But I was afraid that this would be a problem. But as you can see, because typically you take a little bit more away from the edge. You don't have like a 3/4 inch edge. You have maybe like a 3/8, right? But for this particular router, I've got plenty of room in there to take that in and out. And even if I, you know, if I line this up nice and even, they'll drop right in. Very little problem. So cool. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys spending a little bit of your Sunday here. Ray, shout out to you for watching the whole thing. That's means a lot. And we'll get this all cleaned up, and then I think the next step will be during my next live, well, potentially, or if I get impatient and I want to just get it done, I will drill out the plate to match my router base. This plate has 1 million holes, none of them fit. And I knew that. That's why they were selling this. This actually belongs to these patterns of drilled out holes here, they belong to a router that no longer exists. And that's why it was $9.99. So I knew that was going to happen. So I will drill out my own holes. We'll plop that in, get that mounted, and then we'll make some fences out of, I don't know yet. Or maybe I'll just buy some of the replacement Rockler fences. Depends on how cheap they are. If it's cheap, I'm just going to buy them. But if it's not cheap, I think I might actually have the T-slot bit. Let me just do a quick check here. I do not have the T-slot bit. So it might be the difference between spending the money to buy like a $40 router bit or just buying the fence pieces. Probably going to be the same price. But if I buy the bit, I'm going to have the ability to do whatever I want with T-Track. So we'll see how that works out. But anyways, appreciate you guys joining in. Boring Guy DIY. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And I'll probably see you next weekend. That's most likely when I'll do my next live. So I'll see you then. And I'll make sure to check out all your lives because you guys do some really good stuff. So have a good one, guys.